Many Indians whose flag they use as a blindfold, such as Sadhguru, Mr. Sadhguru, Mr. Fraud, belittle Alexander, calling him a great idiot, even though it takes military genius to accomplish what Alexander did by the grace and predestination of God. There is nothing Sadhguru can ever do that will get even close to as amazing as what Alexander did, even in Europe itself, not counting anything outside of the Balkans. This loser never even learned Sanskrit, yet claims to be a Hindu guru. That's like a rabbi refusing to learn Hebrew. This guy is a joke. You haven't even conquered Sanskrit and you belittle Alexander as a fool? You shouldn't be talking. You are Exhibit A for the beard does not make the sage. This is the Persian Empire. As you can see, what is modern Pakistan, much of it used to be controlled by the Persians. Indians could do nothing about it. Pakistanis are Indians, even though it offends many, that's what they are. Indians couldn't liberate the west of geographic India. They had like 200 years or more to do it. According to Herodotus, the Indians had to pay a greater tribute than any other nation subject to the Persians, because they were more in number than any other, because their land was more fertile than most, except these guys. However, I don't understand why they have so much more tribute than Egypt. Is this accurate? Because Egypt is known as a breadbasket of everyone, basically, who conquered them. Maybe because the Persians had, I don't know. But I'm going to go with Herodotus on this, because he was closer to the events than I was, and closer than modern Indians. So the Indians here were slaves of the Persians, and the Indians could do nothing about it. The Nanda Empire couldn't do anything about it. The Nanda Empire was afraid to fight the Persian Empire. As far as I know, they had no wars, did they? Now, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they did have wars, but if they did, they never freed their Indian brethren. Because they didn't even try. Let's face it, they didn't even try. To imagine you're the king of the Nanda Empire and you decide to fight 1,000 nations that will descend upon you. No. You're not insane. You know to stay in your place and shut up. That's what you know what to do, Nanda. Nani? Nanda? That's Japanese for what? I don't know Japanese yet. I plan to learn Sanskrit, Hindi, and Tamil, by the way. So, having established that Indians couldn't free themselves from the Persians in the west of India, let's cover this point that Indians helped the Persians to wreak havoc in Greece, destroying a bunch of stuff, killing a bunch of people, raping a bunch of women. Indian soldiers of the Persian Empire participated in the second Persian invasion of Greece. And the Greeks wanted revenge on everyone who helped the Persians. Not all Indians helped, but many in western India did, being subject to the Persians. Now, Alexander the Great conquered Ganzara in the Indus area, as well as the Indian satrapies of the Persian Empire, the other Indus area places, of course. And he enslaved 40,000 people because they refused to submit to his authority, being the inheritor of the Persian Empire. Alexander killed the entire population of a city that resisted him. He had the right, that was his inheritance, whether you liked it or not. Deuswurt. In his case, it would be Zeuswurt. Someone will say, oh, but Zeus, you see, this proves the Christian got wrong because Zeus was more powerful than any other because the greatest conqueror was a Zeus follower. Oh, how naive. But that's not for this video. check out my video on the prophecy of Europe conquering the entire world, which the Bible predicted, with details making the bullseye narrow, so it wasn't going to come about. Eventually, it had to be a miracle of miracles, more than one miracle. But I don't want to digress too much, as I tend to do. He destroyed a fort where people fled to, and he killed everyone inside. Stop trying to steal from Alexander the Great. It's not going to go well with you. You want to steal his inheritance right. You are to blame everyone inside, unless you're children. Then you can blame your parents for their stupid decision to side with the thieves of the inheritance right. Oh, but it's Indian land, it's ours. Well, God gave it to the Persians, and then God gave it to him. You should submit to God's will. Your fault. Eastern territories of the Achaemenid Empire. The Persian Empire. Look how much they had of Western India. And the Indians could do nothing. Alexander easily broke the power of Persia in northwestern India. So here's the Macedonian Empire. Bada bam bam boom, bada boom 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 boom. Excuse the cringe. I'm just excited when I see how epic this is. Look at this thing, it's beautiful. Alexander did what Indians couldn't. And Indians had much more time but were too weak. Just accept the truth. Therefore, Alexander was far superior to Porus in war. Even though Porus could have been just as brave as Alexander. Actually, not really. Not really. You know why? Because Porus was a giant man. He was like 7 feet tall. How tall was he? He was probably the same size as his elephant. So, I'm exaggerating, of course. But he was a giant. I met a Pakistani in Cambodia who threatened to hurt me, and I was... How short am I compared to him? I'm Iberian of the original stock, similar to Greeks. Greeks are shorter than the northern barbarians. Greeks are my brothers, closer to Latins and Iberians than to Germanics and Celts. And that Pakistani is huge. Huge. If you have 3 of me together, we're still smaller than him, probably. And Porus was probably bigger. And so, even if you had the same amount of courage, that's not as impressive. Yeah, you have courage, but you're a giant. Of course, it's easy for you to fight. But Alexander was not tall, and yet, look what he did. He went into the fray head first, into the biggest empire of the world, and the most powerful at the time. Way stronger than the Nanda Empire. Therefore, the claim that Porus beat him is stupid. Here is one of many Indian propaganda channels. Kirti, her story. Alexander versus Porus. Truth uncovered. We have fooled for centuries. 16,000 blind Indians like this shit. And they don't question the claims. They want to believe they're real or legit. Well, I'm going to question them. And I'm going to show just how full of shit this woman is. And everyone like her. I'm European and my name is Alexandros Homegas. Well, I'm not Homegas, he is. I'm not the great one, he is. So I'm obviously biased. Whereas these Indians pretend to have no bias. They never admit to their bias, even though it's so obvious. It's the elephant in the room. You're gonna listen to a lot of elephant talk in this series, because elephants are everywhere. I don't hide the truth. They do, and I will prove it. So, when I admit to my bias, you can see I don't hide the truth. So you can trust me, but I don't even want you to trust me. Just trust the facts I present. It's not subjective, it's objective. If it is subjective, it's obvious, and I don't even have to give the disclaimer, do I? So I'm going to prove that they are liars. She says, Alexander started coming towards India. And then she depicts modern India. This is absolutely ridiculous, because what she's saying, this is obviously propaganda for Indians to believe that they were always united. Oh, we were always united against the evil British and the Spanish and everyone else. Oh. By the way, the Spanish Empire owned the entire Indian Ocean. When Spain conquered Portugal, because the Portuguese king and his nobles went to Morocco to get wrecked, making it easy for Spain to conquer the throne of Portugal and thereby its overseas possessions, including Goa, which is over here, I think, somewhere around here. So Goa was Spanish ruled. The Spanish emperor ruled it. Even though the Portuguese were administering it, they were allowed to believe that they were equals. They were not. The capital of the Iberian Union was Madrid, not Lisboa. So my people owned the entire Indian Ocean, something Indians have never done. You never owned the entire Indian Ocean. Just because it's called the Indian Ocean doesn't mean it's yours. Just because it's called the Persian Gulf doesn't mean Arabs don't also rule. So I love knowing this. So Indians who look down on Europeans, well, I have leverage over you. Now then, and as for why the Spanish didn't conquer more of India, it's very simple. The Treaty of Tordesillas. The Tordesillas Treaty, as the English would say. Spain agreed not to conquer India. You were spared because the Pope saved you from Spain. If it were Spain that came into the zone instead of Portugal, much more would have been conquered. At least 4 times more, because Spain is 4 times more large than Portugal. So it wouldn't be just Goa, it would be 4 times more. 4 times more. Probably all of Sri Lanka and much more. Ceylon sounds cooler. Moving on. Here's another Indian propagandist, Indian monk. With many liars of India subscribe to him because they love the lies and they just eat it all up. Mindlessly. Why did Alexander the Great run away from India? And he depicts modern India. Now, this isn't my joke, but someone once said that the Indian flag looks like and I'll stop right there. So, what was I saying? Modern India, this is so stupid. Why are you pretending Indians were united? To make it seem as if you were strong enough to beat Alexander? To make it seem as if you were on par with the Persians? You were not. Even modern India's size is smaller than the Persian Empire. And modern India isn't a country per se. It's a country of countries, like the United States is 15 countries combined, and many overseas bases in their case. If you have an overseas base, maybe it's in these islands here near the cannibals. Wait, they're not cannibals, my bad. The cannibals are in India, the Agori. Come on, guys, get updated. It's not right to eat human flesh, even if it's already dead. You're not a scavenger. You're a human being. But Hinduism is degrading. You should see my videos exposing Hinduism for the evil and degradation that it is and leads to. Now, Alexander the Great came over here, and you're saying that this guy in this little zone of the Punjab, the 5 rivers region, I met a Punjabi in Miami, the suburbia. He was at a gas station. I'm not making that up. I know it's a stereotype. Hey, that's how it is, you know. I'm Hispanic. I love beans. I'm a beaner. I accept the truth, even if it makes me look bad. If you eat a lot of beans, you're going to fart a lot. I digress. So, you think little Porus, who was a giant, but his kingdom was little compared to this, how ironic. The giant man had a little kingdom relative to the little man who had the biggest empire. How ironic. I love history. It's so full of irony. You're saying that he beat him? Yeah, that's real. That's rich. That's rich. I mean, it is possible because the Persian Empire was whooped by the Greeks and Greece was small. However, Porus didn't kick out the Persians. And if he did, it was only because Alexander invaded the Persian Empire so that he could get independence if he was their subject before. That's the only reason Indians could get independent, is because Europeans saved them. So, moving on. Oh, see my video, Gandhi did not free India. Hitler did by bankrupting the evil British Empire of macro-evolutionist Darwinists, just like the Nazis were. Alright, so Alexander the Great's empire. And so, this is the biggest Indian kingdom, the Nanda dynasty. The dynasty, because they like to pollute their river, or is that only in the modern day? You don't respect your own country and you complain that others point out facts that don't make your country look good. You're hypocrites. You should clean up your country before talking shit about others. Clean up your own house before going to other houses and breaking their windows. Part 2 next, God willing. And it gets real spicy.